Okay, so you're a startup founder here in New York, right? And that PEO you signed up with, well, it's starting to feel less like a strategic partner and more like a puzzle you didn't ask to solve. If that sounds familiar, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to break down how you can successfully move away from that PEO and, most importantly, take back control of your benefits. So let's just cut right to it with the one question that's probably been nagging at you. Is your PEO actually scaling with your ambition? Because here's the thing. As your company grows, that solution that seemed perfect when you had 5 employees, well, it can suddenly feel like a massive obstacle when you hit 15. And if that question really hits home, I bet you're already feeling that friction. You know what I'm talking about, that loss of control over your own team's data. Or maybe it's those administrative fees that seem to come out of nowhere and just keep spiraling up. Or hey, maybe you're just plain tired of being locked into their bundled services, paying for all this handholding that, let's be honest, you just don't need anymore. All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to quickly touch on why you're leaving, then look at your 3 main options for health benefits in New York. We'll do a head-to-head comparison, give you a framework for choosing your path, lay out an 8-week migration plan, and wrap up with the single biggest mistake you absolutely want to avoid. Okay, let's dive into section 1. Why are you really leaving your PEO? Because, it goes a lot deeper than just the money. So it all boils down to this one kind of weird concept, co-employment. See, when you're with a PEO, they technically become the co-employer of your team. And what that really means is they own the relationship with your people. And even more critically, they own all of your benefits data. That's it. That's the fundamental reason you feel like you've lost control. It's literally baked right into their business model. So you get the problem now? Let's talk about the solutions. Moving on to section 2, let's look at your 3 main options for health benefits once you've decided to make that switch. First up is the one you're probably most familiar with, a traditional small group health plan. This is where you become the sponsor, you pick a carrier like an Aetna or an Oscar, and you offer a couple of plan options. Now, here in New York, there are a couple of rules you gotta know. You have to chip in for at least half of the premiums, and you need at least half your team to participate. It's the path everyone knows, right? But that familiarity often comes with a price, namely unpredictable costs and not a lot of control. Okay, option 2 is the individual coverage HRA, or as you'll hear it, ICHRA. And honestly, for a lot of startups, this is a total game changer. Here's how it works. Instead of sponsoring some one-size-fits-all group plan, you just set a fixed, tax-free monthly allowance for your team. That's it. Your employees then take that money and go buy whatever insurance plan they want on the individual market. So think about it. You get absolute, predictable budget control, and they get total personal choice. It's a win-win. And then there's our third option, the QSEHRA. The easiest way to think about this one is like ICHRA's simpler little sibling. It's the same idea, a reimbursement arrangement, but it has lower contribution caps that are set by the IRS. So for 2025, the max you can give is $529 a month for a single person. It's super straightforward, but, and this is a big but for us, those caps can be a real problem in a high-cost market like New York. I mean, the average health plan here can easily cost way more than that. All right, so now we know the 3 main options. Let's put them side by side and really see how they stack up. In section 3, we're going to compare them on the 3 things that matter most to any startup: cost, control, and risk. This table really lays out the core trade-off perfectly. Look, with a traditional group plan, you're basically signing up for low budget control and a really high risk of getting hit with massive premium hikes every single year. But with an ICHRA, that whole equation is completely flipped on its head. You get high, predictable budget control and literally zero renewal risk. Why? Because you set the allowance and that's your total cost. It really is that simple. And let's look at what this means in real dollars and cents. For a typical 10-person team here in New York, a traditional group plan could easily run you anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 a month. Yeah. With an ICHRA, your costs are not only probably going to be lower, maybe in the $3,000 to $8,000 range, but here's the most important part. They are fixed. They're determined by you, not by some insurance carrier's algorithm. I love this quote because it nails the fundamental problem with small group plans for startups. Think about it. Because your team is so small, you have a tiny risk pool. That means just one person having a major health issue can send your premiums skyrocketing by 20, even 30% the next year. You are literally gambling on your team staying healthy, and that is a really, really dangerous bet for any early-stage company to be making. Okay, so with all of that in mind, the big question is, how do you actually choose? Let's jump into section 4, where we've got a simple decision framework to help you find the perfect fit for your startup. All right, let's just simplify this whole decision. Ask yourself, which of these descriptions sounds more like your company? If you're a little bigger, maybe 15 to 25 employees, your team is generally young and healthy, and you can genuinely absorb a 20+% cost increase next year, then yeah, a group plan could still work for you. But if you're smaller, if budget predictability is your number one priority, and if you have a diverse team with a mix of ages and health needs, then ICHRA is almost always going to be the smarter path. Okay, so you've made your decision. Now what? Look, I get it. The whole migration process can feel, well, pretty intimidating. But it really doesn't have to be. Section 5 breaks this whole thing down into a super manageable 8-week plan. Look, you are not doing this overnight. The absolute key here is to start planning about 8 to 12 weeks before you want to leave your PEO. That gives you plenty of time to get real quotes and not feel rushed. You'll lock in your decision around the 6 to 8 week mark. And then, and this is the most critical step, you communicate the change clearly to your team. The enrollment window opens up, and by your exit date, boom, your new coverage begins seamlessly. No gaps, no panic. All right, we're almost at the end. Let's talk about the single biggest mistake you can make in this whole process. And I can almost guarantee you, it is not what you think it is. So here's the truth. Most founders are absolutely terrified of picking the wrong benefits model, but that's not the real mistake. The real mistake is paralysis. It's staying stuck with a PEO that is costing you way too much and giving you way too little, all because you're afraid of the alternative. Trust me, the risk of doing nothing is almost always greater than the risk of choosing a path that gives you back control. And let's just end with this thought. You did not start a company to become an HR administrator, right? You got into this to build something amazing, not to get buried in benefits renewal spreadsheets. The whole goal here is to find a system that frees you up so you can get back to what you do best, building your company.